have help with this, or where's the direction of this? Because I feel a lot of us probably never sold a drug in their life, but it sounds cool. So guess what? It's a vibration. It hits your head. Then you think you're going to do it. I learned a lot coming up. I've done a lot of mentoring with Gavin from Reach Every Generation. And they refuse to use it because they feel at a state it's easy money. But if I'll be real with you, I'm going to give you a scenario. If you're living on an estate, you go about an older person, you call it or they're younger, they buy you a pair of trainers, McDonald's, they ask you to hold a bag. The minute you say no about you're not going to hold this bag, either they're taking the money you owe them double, or you're going to take that bag from a sibling and ask them to do the same thing. But really, you're being groomed. Yeah, adults are grooming you. That's grooming. Yeah, in their way, it's a professional way, because they think I bought you a pair of trainers, I took you for dinner, I got you a haircut. No, people NHS, and I can't tell you how good they are, from mentoring me to getting me up. So I can't express to you how much that I be a victim of a knife or gun crime. I don't want you to pick up a knife or gun. Before I go through daily trauma, up to the day I was tapping stuff. I had severe anxiety, and it starts with a little seed and it spirals out of control. Before you know it, you're tapping because of someone else. This is because of someone that I keep saying it, or gun. You need to just think first all the time. And as for the people out there, that's cool. I think you're a clown. If you think crime and doing stuff to bad people is even mentally abusing people online, that's disgusting as well, because a lot of males, and I'm not saying females don't, but a lot of males commit suicide because they can't talk. That's another thing, that a man should be able to cry and have an emotion. It's normal. Do you know what I mean? I tried my best to cry, but because I grew up, I just want you to know that my message to you, just stay on track. Listen, as long as it seems, the road seems long, bumpy, like you're not going to get to where you're going to go to, but that's the journey. So for me, I had to start my journey. So I had to climb from rock bottom. So rock bottom for me was laying on the floor, being shot. Do you know how cold the tarmac was? And I always can remember it. And there was a certain lighting that hit me, horrible flashback. And then I can feel like a thing that comes over my body. Like it's the tarmac that day was so cold. And then when the actual bullet hit my spine and I walked off and took 3 steps and fell on the floor, it was crazy for me. The emotion that was going through me was like flashing just before my eyes. And you're not prepared for that. Imagine being told that you're never going to go to number 2, use your bowels, bladder ever again. But I got them all back. But I had a mental block, and this is the stuff I want you to avoid. You don't need to go through what I went through just to say it wasn't worth it. I know me and Gavin know a person that is he has a colostomy bag because they were stabbed, so his stomach got turned out. So on the side, he sent Gavin a text saying he wants to commit suicide because he doesn't feel like he can go to Ibiza, because his terms was, even Tracy, we all know Tracy, like the trauma that she went through as a mum. So she's on the other spectrum. She lost someone. She lost her son. She grieves every day. It's passion within her voice. So I just want to say, you're not just affecting one person. It doesn't go away. People mourn over you for years because they love you. You're loved, no matter what happens. Because if you're gone today and you're not here tomorrow, trust me, the people that you think didn't love you, they love you. And then there'll be the words that was meant to come out their mouth years ago or today, it will come out. See me, I hugged my mum at 8:20 and 8:30. I was laying on the floor, nearly dead. Next minute, I'm in ICU. So my point is, just please, man, my message is so important. I want you to stop, think before you do anything, and let's just stay together.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Inviting me here this evening. There's a couple of messages I want to put across to everyone that's listening. Firstly, the message is any parent listening. Being a parent is the hardest job, and we make choices as our children are growing up, and sometimes according to plan. If there are any parents watching whose child has ever been in trouble with the police, you've had a phone call from the school saying your child's got into trouble, be there to support you through. I'm talking to the little boy, this school, throwing things at the teachers, and I was getting phone calls saying, Josh was diagnosed with ADHD and various other conditions. Now, as a parent, that is quite hard. Thinking, well, no one else's child is running around the class punching people. No one else is in trouble. It's mine. You can be ashamed, embarrassed, and lower your head. And I would say, any of you, hold your head up high, because not everyone's child is going around doing what they. After months to months of various assessments, Josh was statemented. Says he needs additional care in school and support. And Joshua went to a special education. Child ADHD, there is a higher risk that they will be involved with the police, and that is time. I got a phone call from the police. We've got your son in the fear, and I went to the police station. This is when, and it was to put on this front of attitude, swear, saying he didn't care. There will be a lot of professionals and police who usually, because they're terrified of what's in front of them, and they find it have said, listen, we're going to let you off, but don't do it again. The minute you start swearing and kicking off, especially in the police station, you're not doing yourself any favours. So he was actually charged at the age of 10, possession of an imitation firearm, 6 months probation, and I was fined £450. This was the beginning of my son's times, all kinds of different things. I was fined over £5,000 worth of fines through the courts, through the stations, and I was just absolutely pulling my hair out. Why is my child behaving like this? Every child, there will be a reason for their behaviour. If we look at a young person's behaviour and judge them just on that and react to just that, we are missing out on the one piece of information that can save them. We need to find out what is affecting them. Maybe please step back and ask the question, what is going on in their life? Why are they behaving like this? Now, when Josh was 15, he was charged with a really serious assault when we had to go to the youth court in Birmingham. Josh was terrified and scared of the judge. So what did Joshua do? On went the front of attitude. The judge took one look at my son and said guilty. Joshua was sentenced to 2 years in a young offenders. They had taken my little boy off me. And as a parent, that is the day you fear and dread, and it had happened. The worst about this whole situation is we're very good in society at judging young people. They've got a criminal record, they've got an attitude, their family is known to the police. That's lucky he had me. I wasn't ashamed, I wasn't embarrassed, I fought. And it is hard, but you have to keep going and keep going. I got my son out of prison 6 weeks later, and that was the moment his life changed. If your child has a passion, you need to go all out to make sure they can achieve. It is not always about school, GCSEs, university. This is a bonus. Joshua then sat in his bedroom with a pen and paper. He started writing. Those words became lyrics. Those lyrics are now over 260 million views on YouTube, and he became known as Depp. Very quickly, he was getting noticed. He was touring, he was traveling to Europe, performing with some very famous people. In America, Drake was number one, Joshua was number one here. He was happy. As a parent, I just wanted my son to be happy, secure, polite, say please and thank you. He'd achieved everything he wanted, but he also knew he wanted to make money and be famous and was going in the right direction. On the 20th of September 2000, Josh was dead. And that was because of somebody's choice. As soon as you say somebody has been stabbed and has lost their life to knife crime, sometimes you might think in your head, they must have been up to something. They must have. If any speak to, the support is there for you. We are here for you. I'm going to tell you briefly what happened on that evening. Josh did the event. There wasn't a major problem between them. The problem was that you see the bigger picture. And I would say it's better to have that conversation than you have a knock on your door and the police have arrested your child for knife crime. Joshua, a young man, went into a fight with the weapon. He followed my son across the car park and lashed out once. On the floor, the police came, the ambulance. In 2 minutes, Joshua didn't. While he was on the floor waiting for the ambulance, son from here all the way down and all the way across. And what devastates me is the fact they said Joshua didn't want to die. And I truly believe that is because he didn't want to leave me behind. If you're a young person watching this, would you be ready? Think you are dealing with picking up a weapon is not the answer. The answer is to think, to stop, and to seek help. There is no situation that is ever serious enough to say goodbye to your family. For Josh, for me, hundreds, thousands of people. Who else's life did it change though? The young man who said goodbye to his son that evening. The young man that got angry and reacted, picked up a weapon. He's now in prison serving a life sentence for what? And sadly, we are seeing an increase in young men and young women with no previous convictions. So we must have that conversation. Is the hardest thing in the world. The hardest thing. Everything and secure in the knowledge that I did everything I could as a parent, and it was so difficult. You know, the outcome was not what I wanted. I lost my son. But for 18 years, I do in the moment. Seek help, seek guidance, and do everything you can. You know, to his body, the forensics, the autopsies. When I was taken to that room to say goodbye to my son, that is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. My little boy was laid out on a hospital bed, covered in a white sheet. They don't have a room like you see on the television, no music, no curtains, just a normal. I kissed him, I played with his hair, and I said, Mummy's got to go now. I never ever saw my son again. Any concerns about a young person, the way they're behaving online, the way they're putting themselves across in music videos, the way their language is, this is where you think, hang on a minute, send them a message in the question box and ask for us to support you. And we are here to support every single one of you. Keep trying, because through all the dark days, eventually there will be sunny days and those clouds will clear. And again, I can sit here confident and happy that I did everything I could for my little boy. He's not with me now, but we are going to make sure we do everything we can so your little boy and your little girl come home to you this evening. So thank you all very much. I'm now going to pass you on to the amazing Quinton. So thank you all.
Thanks, Alison.
She managed to stem the bleeding. I'd lost consciousness, or almost lost consciousness. But then I got into poetry because I felt that I needed to riff. I talk about homelessness and I talk about serious youth violence. And it looks at the story of the perpetrator and of the victim. So I say it with every sensitivity. So it's called Knife Sentence. Have we ever stopped to ask that boy that carries a knife what he wants to do when he's older? If his parents are still together and who his role models are? Because I guarantee you he don't live next door to a doctor. Instead, he's more than likely to be riding with thugs. And they're the ones in the community prescribing the drugs and driving those cars. 13, he had his first balaclava. Was he ever scared? Is it the mum don't care? Or is it just that she was never there? Maybe she's out trying to provide for the family. And by the time she gets back, she feels tired and angry. Are the arguments at home? Is there a lack of affection? Are the boys outside offering you protection from the youths up the road in a different postcode? The reason why you always go the long way home. So the olders on the block become your bigger brothers. Now it's almost as if you're related to each other. Should be initiated before he's fully affiliated. Is that environment just making him numb? Does he have a choice, or is it safety in numb? Because they're not meant to be your mentors. That's what we need grown men for, to lead by example and to nurture ambition, to teach discipline, to understand and to listen. And I apologize for generating. Who really wants to end up in prison or dying? And the social networks make it all look exciting. All on drill. The thoughts become words. And here is I splashed him and I chefed him, dipped him outside of his house and then left him for his mum to find him. Have you been to a funeral and heard a mother crying? Well, it sounds like, and this isn't the time for answers of excuses, but the youngers need to know there's consequences for their offences. That's Knife Sentence. I felt that I had to change. Time where I had to think about my decision. A couple of your friends have been belling you for days. You said you had no money and they said they had a raise. I know you felt the pressure and I totally understand that. When you see pals with cash and they're flashing it on Snapchat and putting it on Instagram, getting comments and likes, and everybody saying, yo, them man are living lives, is sending you to country. But don't get too comfy, because they will cross you in a minute. What do you think would happen if you lost what you went with? Or if you were chilling in the bando and it got robbed with you in it? Now you're properly in debt. That so you keep making those trips. Just the other day, a friend of yours got dipped. It's a letter. Yours sincerely, Mr. Melide. Yeah, so a lot of people reached out to me because they said it resonated. Some of the words resonated. So I had mothers who had lost sons, siblings who had lost brothers or sisters. And I felt that I couldn't sit there and sit on my hands and not do anything. I got so many messages. It wasn't anything to do with ego. It was just to kind of explain that I've got a platform where I reach out, on a big following. So I felt we do events like what you're seeing today. We travel all across the country. And with that as well, we started a company called Music Mentoring Arts and Poetry. And that encourages youngsters to tell their truth, to be transparent. I don't expect youngsters who are that person. I was that person. So we've moved forward. And I want you to be able to understand about not glorifying or glamorizing youth violence in lyrics. And when you're hearing
so honestly about such personal stories. We've had some questions in from our viewers. So I'm going to kind of direct them. They're directed to each one of you. I'll expect Darren to sit down and then live.
Just think, if you're prepared for the consequences of carrying that weapon, then sadly you might learn the hard.
and it makes sure that I change my trajectory.
Down. So for me, 3.5 years I've been doing, so a year and a half I've been doing voluntary work for, and then now, so before that I tell people I come off a bike because I was so embarrassed to tell someone that I've been shot because they will carry it to South London. So I had to, no stopping me. I do more than what I've done before, and I look in better shape. I go to the gym, school, because I come from I had a lot of crazy times at school because it was like I was kind of a big lad anyway at school and then at school. But with my schooling, it taught me a lot because it was fun times. Like if you have a little fight, it was like you just have a punch up and that was it. And I'm not saying fight, but if you're gonna have any altercation with someone, think. And if it really comes to it, it's just fist. You don't need to do nothing else. It's not that deep. And I'm not encouraging anyone to fight. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have 4 instances, yeah, I don't have bad feelings for them. I used to wake up every day thinking I'm gonna find that revenge. I used to every day go out my way just to think about it. When I woke up in the morning, and I thought, you know what, let me just turn my energy. I need to walk. I need to talk to people around me. I need to get myself back to where I need to be. And then, like, obviously, it is a God blessing that I'm here today because there's no you get shot that many times. I know that people we see in the news, they get shot once, the hits are hard, they're gone. It's people that get
All day, every day, quite happily, as you can see by the smile. I keep parents. I also set up an awards evening in Josh's memory, and that is Josh is very much alive in many people's hearts and minds, and every year I know about him, and so that's how I keep him going.
Quinton, again, can we shout? Because I think they're struggling to hear us still. So
Okay.
Was I the only quiet one?
No,
That's
I
surprising.
think all of
I don't think
us.
there's any particular one. It's just generally. Quinton, how has your music helped you?
I've toured, like I said, I've done events and things like that. So it's kind of offered me a wage or a salary, however you want to look at your salary, however you want to look at it. But with poetry,
you got to remember from a perspective of what I've witnessed is you got 3 siblings living in the house. The dad is not around. Magnificent and Quinton and other people that I've worked with. There's so much more stuff they can do. It's just ask. Don't be afraid to say, look, I haven't got money. I need help. Or can you? Sometimes it's not even about money. They just want to be asked. Is love, emotion, affection, kisses, hugs. That's what these people need. If I'm honest, that's all I wanted when I was in hospital, when I was laying on my deathbed. So that's for me.
Because there are so many people that are passionate and want change and are there to offer their expertise, their support. It's a case of doing everything we can to make a young person feel confident, parents are concerned, which, you know, it's very difficult for parents than to realise that we're here. We are all here to support and help you with your journey. And if that journey is going very wrong, we're still here to help you. And that is the alternative that I think is available for everybody.
I knew that was coming.
Sorry. Just to finish up, firstly, the one thing I want to say is thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all of our speakers. I don't know how you sit up here and say those stories. So thank you so much for coming and speaking to our viewers today. There's been a couple of comments about help and support, and it's really nice to see those comments. It's really nice that you've actually been able to and have a chat with them and they can help you. If you don't have that adult in your life, just before we came on, and I will make sure it gets, please don't feel that you're alone, because you're not. We are here to support you. We're here to help you. I'll explain really briefly who we are. So my name's Helen. I'm a sergeant from the Gangs and Some People who are at risk of criminal exploitation. So at the point that somebody gets referred into us, we take that young person and we have a conversation with them. It's just about having the right support around you, reaching out for help. And if that help isn't immediately around you, reach out to somebody else, because people do care. As Darren, Quinton and Alistair have said repeatedly, people do genuinely care. So please do reach out. And hopefully what this event has done tonight is just dispel a few myths. Like I said, on a couple of the videos that I've done through Career Mode on Instagram, there's lots of desensitisation. We talk about knife crime, we talk about the headlines. This is the reality. Grown men with life-changing injuries that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. Women that have to come up on stage and talk about sons who've been murdered. People have those conversations.
To build a rapport and engage with these young people has been massive. And we're seeing it already with young people, like where they started to where they pathway to really surprising a few people what they're going to do. Project, I would advise anyone to go to enter Career Mode on Instagram if you have the project. Currently, there's a boxing on Zoom funding to sort of roll this out long term. So if anyone wants to chip in some money, we'd happily take it. But as an organisation, all this was possible because, I'd like to say, the work that Helen's team do, and anyone that's watched will send out the details where you can go and access. And any young person, whether you've got your own struggles or you just, like, let's face it, at the moment, lockdown has been tough. Everyone is probably struggling. Everyone's vulnerable. Get out there, go and see this, go and join the football, go and get involved. There's amazing. Oh, my app's coming. All right. My app, sorry, Darren. My app is enter